Hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the 7 Days of Gratitude Art Journal Challenge. In this video, I will be working with the prompt friends, and I had an idea to stamp out the initials of my closest friends and use them on this layout. And so first things first, I am just painting this single page completely black with chalkboard paint. And the paper is pretty thin, so it curls a little bit, but when it dries flat. So don't be afraid to use paint on whatever journal paper you're using. Just be sure that you have some flexibility in the next page. So now I am using these big alphabet stamps from Studio Calico with a handful of ink colors and stamping on the back of these patterned paper scraps I had in my collection. And I chose papers that had white on the background so that I could stamp on them. And I'm just stamping the initials of my closest friends and kind of thinking about which paper I want to use for each friend, which color I want to use for their initial, just so there's a little thought behind it. And I decided to go with colorful ink just to add a pop of color to this layout, because the patterned paper is going to be on the back side. So the patterned paper will be colorful on one side and the ink colors will be colorful on the other side. So I'm just still stamping, and then I am going to cut out around the letters. And originally I was going to trim closely around the letters so they really got the shape, but I then decided to just trim them into rectangles. And you'll see how this looks when I put them on the vellum that is in my journal. And I actually included vellum in the pages of my journal, but if you don't have vellum already in your journal, you can always add it in using a piece of washi tape or sewing it or gluing just the edge of it down. And so now I'm just playing around with how I want to format these, which side of the vellum I want them on, if I want the letters or the patterned paper showing on which side. And I kind of decide that I want the letters to be under the vellum instead of on top of the vellum. And I didn't know going into it how exactly I was going to lay it out, but I knew I wanted these stamped initials. So it really is just me kind of making it up as I go and being inspired by the process. So I just used repositionable glue tape to adhere those, and I'm going to run it through my sewing machine to really secure them and also just add another texture. So I just did a straight line through each of the columns, and now I'm just trimming off the excess thread. And I like how this makes that vellum really interesting, and on the patterned paper side it adds a line that gives it a little bit more interest. And so now I'm deciding where to put this friend's title that I cut out from the printable sheet I made for this challenge. And I decided to glue it on the black so that it'll really stand out. And then I list out the names of each of the friends that I reference with the big stamped letters. And I'm just writing them in white pen on that black chalkboard paint. Because I thought that page was still needing a little something, I go ahead and doodle a couple stars. And these are not laid out perfectly, I just kind of wing it, and I like how that looks. I think once you kind of find a doodle you like, it's fun to just play around. And I even add one there at the bottom, just because I wanted to. And now I am thinking about what to do with this coral patterned paper. I want to add some kind of journaling about how I'm grateful for my friends in this spread, and so I decided to grab a piece of notebook paper, and I actually just tear it straight out of the notebook, and I try to tear it into a fun shape, and that doesn't really work, so I actually just end up cutting it. So as you can see, this was very not planned out, but spontaneous, and that's one of the fun things about art journaling, is that you don't have to know what you're doing when you start, you just start. And then I trim out this little friends word strip, and I know I want to include that somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where I want to put it yet. So I just put it off to the side, and I tape down that notebook paper using a piece of washi, and then I adhere the bottom using that repositionable tape runner. And I'm still not sure where to put that, but I end up just placing it right below the washi, so it's kind of like a title. And then I'm going to add some journaling, and I decide to go for a messier handwriting. And of course you can just do your normal handwriting. I like to have a couple different styles of writing, and I think this one is fun to add a more artistic look to this spread. And then I kind of reposition that journaling paper because it was a little off center, and so I was glad I used my repositionable tape on that. And then I stamped the date at the bottom. And I'm feeling like it's missing something, so I grab this stamp set and I stamp a bold black X on that bottom right patterned paper square. And I don't know why, but I feel like that just completes it. And so that is it for this layout about the theme of friends. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process. This really was a spread that started with a single idea and blossomed into a whole bunch of others. And so I encourage you to just get out your supplies, experiment in your art journal, and have fun throughout the process. And if you're joining us in the challenge, please post your photos on Instagram using the hashtag #GratitudeArtJournal. I look forward to seeing what you create. Thanks for watching. Bye.